There are a lot of reports come out in our modern society with regard to demographics, where things are going, what things are going to be happening in 20, 30, 40, 100 years. There's all sorts of weird statistics out there. And there's been some research done by Professor Matt Goodwin of Buckingham University, and essentially it suggests that by the end of this century, the white British share of the population, defined as people who do not have an immigrant parent, could have fallen to about a third. Now, how should we absorb this information? How should we assimilate it? So it does, first of all, project a big rise in the proportion of the UK population comprising foreign-born and second-generation immigrants. And that's from just under 20% to a third in the next 25 years. But certainly by 2100, the prediction is that 6 in 10 people in the United Kingdom will either not have been born here or will have at least one immigrant parent. In addition to that, the Muslim population, which is currently at about 7% and rising, will increase to approximately 10, 11, 12% within the next 25 years. And by the end of the century, approximately about 1 in 5. So this research, based on Office for National Statistics and Census data, isn't just some random poll. It is a real data-led exercise, and of course it is Matt Goodwin of GB News, so people will want to dismiss it out of hand. But it's pretty hard to dismiss these types of things, particularly when he's taking this data from the Office for National Statistics. So, this is real data, census data. Now, there's a certain amount of anxiety associated with these type of statistics. So on the video here, you're looking at these graphs, and they are, worrying reading if you are perhaps a British person who is looking at life and wondering what the future is going to hold. But throughout all of this, you arrive very, very quickly at the apex of the immigration argument. And what is that in specific terms? Well, it would go something like this. If you believe that it's a problem that white people in England will become a minority at a certain date in the future, then you're clearly a racist. And that's essentially the argument. But that's not really true, is it? As an example, you could look at a place. Is a place or a part of the country? Is it the buildings? Is it the people? What is it that makes England England? What is it that makes Japan Japan? Now you could say, well, all of the way that the buildings are structured or the signage or something of that nature, and that's partly true. There is a certain element of truth to the fact that buildings and areas within a certain place do to a large extent dictate some of the feelings that people have when they live there. Certainly that's true a little bit. But more to that, it's the people, it's the culture. And you can take a group of people and put them in a certain place, and that culture will continue to go on regardless of the surroundings. And so really, if I'm looking at an England that I recognise, certainly a culture that I recognise, then if there's going to be such large and speedy demographic changes, then it would not be unfair to say that Britain will become unrecognisable to those of us who were born perhaps before the year 2000. That's a fair enough cut-off. Around that time before, I was born well before in the 70s, and the changes that I've seen have been large. But certainly if I'm lucky enough to live another 40 years, say, I would imagine that the demographics of this country will be so unrecognisable to me as to make it not the same place. Now, I'm not saying that out of some deluded sense of, I think it might be like that. I have a working example, and that working example is London. So I've been down to London and I've visited London for my adult life. I've been there at various points. I've been there as a teenager. I've been there in every decade of my life. And I can hand on heart tell you that that is not the same place that I've known. I'm not from London. I'm from Newcastle. But I can tell you wholeheartedly that when I walk around London, that is not London. And so that's what the rest of the country is going to feel like. If I'm going to walk around Newcastle, the place of my birth, and most of the people in there are not going to be the type of people that were around when I was growing up, then that's not going to feel like the city where I was born anymore. So I have to start thinking and planning for that. Is it the case that this is going to reverse? Well, it doesn't look like it's going to reverse, because when you look at the birth rates, what we're looking at here is a UK-born fertility rate of 1.39, which is well off the 2.1 required to replace the population. It's 1.97, generally speaking, for foreign-born people. For Muslims, it's 2.35. The actual number and what the research is telling us, regardless of what's happening at the end of the century, white British share of the population will decline from 73% to 44% by the year 2075. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. Within 50 years, this place isn't going to look the same. Now, I'll probably be gone by that point, but certainly my children will hopefully not be gone by that point. And the question that I have to ask myself is this the place where they should continue to live? Perhaps that's a decision for them and not me. Perhaps I shouldn't be making those decisions. The world is a big place, and, if young people want to move around, then they can do that. So perhaps I'm overthinking it in that respect. The only way forward is going to be to retreat to some of those places where small pockets of the place that I know and love still exists, because certainly in inner cities and the city areas, the place is essentially going to become unrecognisable. Thanks very much for your time.